Hello YouTube! It's not very often that you see me booting up Windows 10, but this time I couldn't get this to work any other way. And yeah, I really just booted up Windows for this guy here, which is really yellow, but it's an A1200, an Amiga 1200. It's also the version with the 40 megabyte hard disk in it, so it was quite a nice machine back in the day. I got this from my sister as a kind of a Christmas present, and yeah, what I want to do today is to replace the old hard disk that's in here with this little thing here, which is a compact flash card attached to a little IDE compact flash adapter. It's the cheapest one I could find. The flash card is a Kingston, it's a quality one. Some of those don't work, so you have to get a good one. These work. And yeah, what I'm going to do is to prepare this flash card with the help of the WinUAE Amiga emulator that only runs on Windows. I couldn't get my little card reader to see this card on the Mac version of FSUAE. It's supposed to work, but I spent some hours on it, and yeah, I just finally gave up and used Windows. I'm basically going to follow the instructions that Stefan gives on his great Brotkasten blog, which is a German blog concerned with retro computing in general, most of it concerning Commodore stuff. The C64 is on there and the Amiga, and I guess he's also got some other Commodores covered there. And yeah, it's basically a very nice blog, and the only downside for most of you watching this will be that it's in German. So what I'm going to do here is take his tutorial and make this video in English about it. So yeah, basically if you can understand German, you can read it in his blog in a very detailed form. So this is just a quick look at how this is going to work. So I'm going to take this cheapo card reader, which is probably the reason why this didn't work on my Mac. Probably some kind of driver issue there or something like that. I don't really know. Yeah, so I put my compact flash card in this compact flash slot here, and yeah, I'm gonna switch to screen capture for the next steps, I guess. And the first thing you want to do is to insert your compact flash card into your card reader. And as you can see, this is pre-formatted as a FAT32 card. And to be able to use it as an Amiga device, you have to delete all partition data on there. So what we're going to do is to enter disk part, which comes pre-packaged in Windows. And yeah, you get this console screen, and you basically list all the devices. No, it's not disk list, but list disk. And yeah, you can see that the fourth device in this case is the compact flash card. So we select the disk with select disk 4, and we type clean, and all partitions are cleaned. So that's a step you have to take to be able to use this in an Amiga, or at first in the emulator, as you will see in a second. The first thing that happens then is that a window pops up that tells you to format the device you just deleted all format on. So don't do that. Click on cancel. And next thing we want to do is to start up WinUAE and make a configuration that is as close to the original machine we're going to use the flash card on as possible. You can see here that you choose the right kick ROM and choose the right memory size And yeah, you can basically insert the first disk of the Workbench 3.1 or another Workbench distribution you want to install. You click on Add Hard Disk, and from this pull-down menu you can choose your compact flash card, and you can choose Amiga 600 or 1200 hard disk in this menu, and the other settings stay the same. Yeah, you basically have added this as a hard disk to the emulator, and now we boot it up, and it should boot up with the install disk that we just inserted, or virtually inserted. You can obtain all these files from the Amiga Forever distribution. So now we start the HD tools that is on our virtual disk there, and we start the HD toolbox. It takes a second because it's a virtual disk drive. It also emulates the original speed. So we see our little hard disk listed up in this list there. We click on change drive type, and we have to define a new drive type because it's a new drive. I insert RAM junk there because basically it's otherwise it's writing the configuration to disk, which we don't want in this case. We read the configuration, which is basically an auto detect thing that, yeah, it reports silly megabyte ranges, but it doesn't matter, it works anyway. Yeah, then we have a new hard disk type here, and we can partition our drive. There you see our partitions. It's basically pretty self-explanatory. I chose a partition size of 500 megabytes for the system partition, and the rest of the card, which is a 4 gig card, will become a data partition in my case. And I also change the partition device names down here to DH0 and DH1 because that's the Amiga standard names. Then there's another important step to make this work. We click on the little advanced options. We tick the box there and go to change, and then you can see the max transfer field there. And we're going to change that to a value that has proven to work. It's basically, it has to do with the timing and stuff. If you leave it on this value, it won't work very well, and the hard disk will probably boot, but it will read rubbish from time to time. So we change it to 1FE00, which is a value that works for most people, I think. Otherwise, you have to look around in forums and stuff like that and ask people for help, because I'm not an expert, and yeah, you basically have to try stuff yourself. So yeah, here's our partitions, and we changed that for the second partition as well, so it works there as well. So 1FE00, and we click on return and OK. So that's basically all the settings to set this up as an Amiga hard disk that the emulator and later the real Amiga will recognize as a real hard disk. So we have to click on Save Changes to Drive before we click on Exit. Yeah, and then we basically have to reboot the virtual system, which we do by bringing up the menu, the WinUAE menu, by pressing F12. And yeah, we basically go through all this again and insert our install disk again and add our hard disk again, which now reads RDB, which is the Amiga partition format. And we put it on A600, A1200 hard disk again and click on Start to start the virtual Amiga. And then it boots up again, hopefully. From the disk still, because the hard disk is not even formatted or anything. It's just partitioned. And here we see the two partitions we just made. And they are NDOS, so we have to go to the pull down menu and choose Format Disk to format them into the Amiga format. And you can choose any disk name you want. And yeah, you can leave the rest as it is and just click Format, or you can also choose Quick Format, which is much quicker. And you will ask if it's okay to format. You are asked twice if it's okay to format the disk, because it's a hard disk, the system thinks. So there's probably some really nice data on there. So that's it. It's formatted. You have a formatted Amiga hard disk, so to say, in your emulator. And we're also going to do the same for the second partition we made and call it something like data. Yeah. And basically we can just go to quick format again. And it will also ask and format the disk. Which is, of course, very quick, because we chose quick format. So now we have our two partitions here, and we're gonna install Workbench 3.1 on it. So we go to install and choose the language we prefer. In this case, I'm gonna choose English. You can always install languages later, that's not a problem. So, and we basically follow the instructions on screen, which they are not very hard to get. You just basically change disks, and yeah, it basically tells you what it does, and you click on proceed, and you click on install release 3.1. And you can basically choose whatever you want. The install is always quite easy. I'm choosing intermediate here. I don't know if it even makes a difference. So yes, we want to install it on hard disk, and I'm also gonna click on German. And we don't want to install any of the printer drivers because they won't work anyway. And yeah, we want the German keyboard in this case because it's the only keyboard I have. And then it starts the install. And you have to insert disks, which you do by pressing F12 again and going into the WinUAE menu. And you go to the floppies and choose the disk the installer wants. Yeah, you could also activate more than one drive in the virtual floppy section there, but yeah, I didn't do that here obviously. And then it basically copies the files for the Workbench to your hard disk you just made. This takes a while, so I'm gonna speed it up a bit. There's you have to change disks quite often. There's 6 disks, I think, for the Workbench, and it really needs them all and installs data from all the disks there. So we're gonna speed this up quite a bit. So you insert all the disks one after another, and in the end you are asked to remove the disk from the drive. And yeah, there we go. You have to remove the disk and then click on proceed, and the virtual Amiga reboots. And this is going to be the first time, if everything went right, that it's booting from the hard disk. And as you can see, it goes quite fast. And yeah, basically there's a full Workbench distribution on there now with everything that the Amiga Workbench came with. And yeah, so that's basically how you do this.
And what we're going to do next, of course, is to copy all the data on there that we need, that we basically have on our PC maybe, and add directories from the PC hard drive to the list of drives that will be available in the emulation. So you can easily do that and choose any directory you want on your hard disk and restart the Amiga, and it's gonna pop up there as a drive, and you can copy data from and to the PC and the Amiga, which is really, really handy. There, I made a little, this is my Amiga directory on the Windows hard disk, and I can copy stuff from there to my real compact flash hard disk. Yeah. But what's even more important than all that copying stuff is it gonna work in the real Amiga? So I think that's what we're gonna try next.
So let's see if we can fit our compact flash hard disk into the Amiga. And to take these apart, there's these 3 screws here. Then there's these 2 screws on the sides here. And there's 2 screws here, which you probably can't see from this angle. But I assure you there are 2 screws in the back here. So let's remove them. And then I turn it around. And we can basically lift it up this way. There are these little clamps on the back there. Yeah. So now you can lift out the keyboard, it just slides out. Okay. Could also take all these connectors out so that you can work here. Yeah, basically not going to do that because it's not that big an operation. This is an old IDE 40 megabyte hard drive from the 90s, so this has gotten quite loud because all the bearings are, yeah, they are old, basically. This particular Amiga 1200 has been in the attic for some time, and it got wet at some point a bit. So there you can see some rust here. I have to refurbish this whole thing. There's going to be a whole series of videos about that. Yeah, this is only the first video I'm making on the A1200, I guess. So what I'm going to do now is to remove this hard disk, which is basically just unplugging the IDE cable here and taking it out, because it's on this kind of yeah, it's a holder for it that just slides inside the cover here, and you just can take it off, and it's secured with these screws. So I guess I'm gonna I probably keep this holder and yeah, unscrew these 4 screws here, and attach the other little adapter on it to have the compact flash card instead of the hard disk. So here's the little hard disk. I think I'm going to put the screws into these screw holes here so I don't lose them if I ever want to fit this inside an Amiga again, or inside another enclosure or something like that, to back up the data. So I have this holder attached again, and what we're going to find out now is how we're going to attach this. I think it should just fit in here. Yeah, it does. So yeah, we probably need some insulation beneath there. So maybe I'll put a stripe of gaffer tape or something like that on there, or a piece of plastic. And yeah, then basically I think I'm gonna use a cable tie or something to fix that. Maybe around here, so that it doesn't rattle around in the case. I think Stefan also used the cable tie to affix it to that holder here. So what I'll end up doing is putting this in here, which is The insulation from the RAM expansion I repaired in one of the previous videos, or rather two of the previous videos, where it had this little tin box that was insulated with this. So I know that this plastic is suitable for the job because it can take some heat and stuff like that. That's the reason why I chose this without much further looking here. So, and I think I'm gonna affix this with some electrical tape, I think. So there we go. And it even looks quite nice. So I guess this goes in here like this. So I ended up just taping it to this holder here with some more electrical tape. Yeah. There's probably a better way of doing this, but yeah. Your creativity is probably better than mine here. So I guess it's only to prevent it from rattling around in the case, I guess. It's not going to be a loose connection or anything like that. This is quite nice. So let's keep it at that and try if this worked at all. Okay, I have hooked up this Amiga's composite out to my little converter box there. It's not going to be the best picture quality. I also have a CRT, but it's not set up at the moment, so for testing purposes, this will probably be enough. So let's turn on the Amiga. Yeah, the power light comes on. Let's see if it's seeing the hard disk at all. So let's check this out. Wow, this is really, really fast here. Cool. It's much faster than the actual hard drive that was in there, which really isn't much of a surprise, I guess. And it's stuck on September 1995 here. Yeah. Nice. So this is really working, I guess. So yeah, I think that's about it. This works. And you saw how you can do it yourself, I guess. If you like this, give it a little thumbs up. You can also subscribe to my channel, of course. There's going to be a lot more on this particular one, and there's going to be a lot more on other retro computing stuff, I guess. And some other electronics stuff. I'm not restricted to doing retro computing stuff. I also do a lot of audio stuff and other things. So yeah, stay tuned. If you want to support me, you can support me on my Patreon page, which I set up. I will link that in here and in the end screen, I guess. I will link in the blog that this whole compact flash card mod came from in the video description again. And yeah, thank you, Stefan, for letting me use your tutorial for this. And thanks everyone who watched this. I hope to see you again on this channel. I'm Invert. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye!